Hey, this is Molly. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as we take a look at the May 26th Sagittarius full moon total lunar eclipse. It is happening here at 7:15 a.m. That's Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So be sure and adjust for your location on the planet. This is the first eclipse for 2021, and it is a very big releasing eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse, which makes it a full moon, which means it is about big changes. And we're going to be talking about that because there's a lot of change happening in this chart, which means that we're ready for it. We're ready for shifts. We're ready for something new and different. We're ready to let go. And there's a lot here around releasing. So this lunar eclipse is focused on the moon at 5 degrees of Sagittarius, which is directly opposing the sun at 5 degrees of Gemini. So you're locating this moon at 5 degrees of Sagittarius in your chart, and that is where this energy of release and change is happening. Now, in an astrology chart, we look for a theme that emerges, something that becomes clear or dominant, something that shows us what are the main energies happening here. And when we can identify those main messages, we see what energy is really prominent. And so in this chart, we have the moon is in the mutable energy of Sagittarius. And we have a lot of mutable energy in this chart. We have Sagittarius, including the south node in Sag. We have Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. And then we also have 3 planets plus the north node in Gemini. Mutable planets are about change and adaptability. The mutable planets will adapt and adjust or reject and run away. And that's really how you can understand it, is that these are the energies of what do I need to do? And do I want to do it? And if I don't want to do it, I'm going to find another option. There's a sense here of we're making some very big choices. But I also have the sense in this chart that choices have already been clear at a soul level. Now, the moon opposing the sun is the full moon energy. So for the lunar eclipse, which is always a full moon, this is the focal point, and it's approaching the conjunction to the south node. Now, the moon crosses over the south node every month, about every 28, 29 days, but this is an amplified energy. So you are letting go of something in the Sagittarius area of your chart here that is complete for you. You've perhaps learned from it. You've gained wisdom. You've understood it. You've maybe seen what's no longer true for you, what no longer resonates, what no longer connects to what is important in your life. And you're ready to let some things go. And this is certainly about the Sagittarius energies of your belief systems, your truth, an ideology, something that was governing or directing your life. And now it's changing, it's letting go. And then this energy here of the moon in Sagittarius places more emphasis on Jupiter. And that's because Jupiter rules Sag. So then we go to Jupiter in the mutable sign of Pisces, 1 degree of Pisces, 11 minutes, squaring both the moon and the sun, creating this T-square of energy. Now, a square from Jupiter amplifies. Jupiter is about making something bigger. It's known as being very positive and optimistic, but it can also exaggerate and be over the top. And the square is that. It's over the top. It's something coming clear, coming through this Pisces energy. That's the energetics. It's your intuition. It's how you're feeling. Something that's rising up in you that maybe you can't deny or can't overlook because it's so strong and powerful is essentially blasting the energies that we're meant to let go of and release. I think of this Sagittarius as dropping off the luggage, getting rid of baggage, just done with it. And then this energy of Jupiter in Pisces squaring the sun in Gemini is about challenging the mind, meaning the mind isn't the only decision maker. And in fact, the mind is being challenged by what is true for me now, what feels right, and how do I incorporate my intuition into what I'm either deciding, thinking, pondering. Is there too much effort here in the Gemini energies that are trying to organize and get the details and bring things together? But this square from Jupiter in Pisces is basically saying the answers are outside of your mind. They're not only in your head. In fact, there's details you don't even know yet. But because it's Jupiter, that means it can be very good news. There can be good things that you're not even aware of yet. There can be something forming in the background or coming together that you can't see or perceive yet. So all in all, we're seeing that it's time for a lot of change and shifting that we're letting go of because it's time. And we're releasing something that is no longer in alignment or in resonance, but we don't know all the answers yet. It's having questions and maybe not having the full story or the full answers just yet. So this Jupiter is important since it is the ruler of Sagittarius and therefore the ruler of the lunar eclipse. Now, the other energy that's very strong is how we have both Mercury and Venus conjunct here in Gemini. Mercury will be stationing retrograde May 29th, so it's hanging out here at 24 degrees of Gemini and receiving a square from this Neptune, which is at 22 degrees of Pisces, nearly 23 degrees. This is new territory for Neptune in Pisces, new territory. That's a big deal. When the outer planets are in new territory, they're opening up something. There is a new activation in this part of your chart. And this Neptune in Pisces is squaring both Mercury and Venus in Gemini. Another square between the Gemini and Pisces energies is uncertainty and confusion. But that happens when you're too much in your head. So these Gemini energies are a bit debilitated because they are receiving strong influences from the outer planets in Pisces. So these planets are going to be more dominant because they're slower moving. They have a stronger energy field, and they're influencing. Jupiter influencing the sun, Neptune working with Venus and Mercury. So the mind is diffused. The mind is looking for more details, specifics. Tell me what's going on. I need a plan. What's coming together? And both the Neptune and Jupiter and Pisces are saying it's not time to know yet. Just trust yourself. Trust what feels right. Trust what you're drawn to. I think of Pisces as your higher self, as the part of us that can sense something. We feel it. We just know it deeply, whether that's in our intuition or something is rising up at a soul level. And you can't put words to it, perhaps, which Gemini wants to do, is to describe it, put words to it. Let's talk about it. But there's something bigger happening at this lunar eclipse that is shifting you and changing you at a very deep level. It's changing you as things fall away, as there's these release points here that are happening. And I actually see in this chart two big areas of release. The first is the moon conjunct the south node, which is a letting go and releasing that is amplified and accelerated. Now, Sagittarius is a fire sign, so this is related to a part of your self-identity or your ego, the false ego, the parts of ourselves that are been there, done that, expired, you've learned and you're growing. And so there's a change in the sense of self, which is every fire sign is connected to a part of our ego. And we are done with a cycle that provided a lot of growth, expansion, wisdom, understanding. But now you're opening up space. So this 5 degrees of Sag is where there's space opening for the next area of growth, the next place that you're ready to understand more of what calls to you. So there could be a void here, an opening. And this is where the energies are letting go. So wherever you have 5 degrees of Gemini is where you're experiencing a big change, a big completion, and a big opening into the next energies. So this is one point of release. The second point of release, I'm going to say, is this Jupiter. So where you have 1 degree of Pisces is another point of release because of how Jupiter is the ruler of the eclipse, as I mentioned, but Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, which is about endings, unraveling, undoing, what is karmically complete, what is emotionally complete, where you are understanding something from a higher perspective and you're able to practice acceptance of what is. And that can incorporate compassion, forgiveness, parts of yourself that are understanding what it was about, what you were learning, or what you were just experiencing through the energies. So this is another point of release here, where you're understanding more of the bigger picture, more of what you went through to learn more about yourself, learn more about others, learn more about the energetics, the karma, the connections, whatever it might be. But with that Jupiter, because Jupiter is uplifting, there's a sense of, I'm ready. I'm ready to let something go. I'm ready. And I feel like that's a dominant energy here because this Jupiter in Pisces is ready for the energy to finish out. And this Neptune in Pisces is helping you to trust and helping you get out of any kind of overactive mind, any kind of overactive energy. Now, this duo here, Mercury and Venus, they're at an important point because Mercury stations retrograde May 29th and will travel backwards. And on the June 10th Gemini solar eclipse, Mercury is conjunct the sun and the moon at 19, nearly 20 degrees of Gemini, and they're still squaring Neptune. This means that during eclipse season here in May and June, you're practicing trusting what you don't see and you don't know. You're trusting the Neptune energy even more, Neptune and Pisces even more. And I feel like this is where we have the ability to accelerate in our spiritual growth because this Neptune is saying, it's okay if you don't know. I've got you. This is handled. Things are coming together. It's safe. Things are happening, but they aren't going to happen in your mind. They're not going to happen only in your mind, I should say, where we're really understanding that this energy is part of a bigger cycle of growth outside of this one time period. And there's more happening here that is coming through that we're not going to see just yet. But you feel it, you sense it. It's connected to your intuition, maybe in your dreams, maybe you're getting messages in other places. That as there's releasing here and changes, big life changes, you're actually embarking on a new trajectory or a new timeline for your own growth. And it's right on time at a soul level. You're right on time for something that maybe you're feeling or sensing, even though the mind, this is the anxiety as well. The Gemini can be the overthinking, overanalyzing. It can be the analysis paralysis, details, specifics. And we're going to be practicing how to manage that better, where you're like, okay, I'm in my head a lot. I'm thinking this through. I want to know, what are the particulars? How's this going to line up? Et cetera, then you will have to step back and go into the Pisces energy, the surrender, the not knowing, the allowing. I'm allowing this to shift and change. I'm allowing this to move me ahead in the best possible way. And the sooner we can do that, move into the surrender, move into that place of really deep trust in the bigger cycles of the universe, then openings happen. They really happen, and they can happen quickly. Now we see this Mars still swimming through Cancer at 20 degrees, and Mars is trining Neptune, which means that a part of you is already on board. You're like, oh yeah, it's okay. I'm just doing my thing, moving through this and not forcing anything, not trying to make something happen. And just going with this cycle, going with this flow. This is also the feminine energies, which is Cancer and Pisces, where there's a part of you that's okay, just taking it day by day and moving with the energy as it happens. But if you're too much in your head, which is easy to do, if you're over focused on the Gemini thinking, that's where you could spin a little bit. Again, that can be where the anxiety shows up. Now, the good news, more good news, I should say, is that we have this Saturn now at 13 degrees of Aquarius retrograde. And this Saturn is trining that North Node in Gemini, which brings in stability, which brings in a sense of direction that's been made clearer to you. And as the sun moves forward here in Gemini, the sun is going to exactly trine Saturn when it gets to 13 degrees. So there are ideas that are forming. There's something you're meant to focus on, but not get distracted. This energy with these mutable signs, you can be really distracted, really restless. It can be hard to settle, whether that's settling the mind, settling or calming the nervous system, calming down the parts of you that are in motion and moving. So keep an eye on that. Now in June, we're also going to have the second square between Uranus. It's now at 12 degrees of Taurus, a new degree point. Uranus is moving into new territory in your chart as well, and it's creating a tighter square to the Saturn in Aquarius. This is just happening in the background for the whole year, but it's getting tighter into June, where there's going to be the next, we'll call it a shakeup, the next understanding of what stays and what goes. So this eclipse season has the potential to accelerate energy, put you on a new, higher track, higher timeline when you trust the energy and when you're not overthinking it too much. The Jupiter in Pisces, I just feel like this is big changes. Big changes that you're ready for at an energetic level, at a soul level, at a spiritual level. Big changes. Now keep in mind this energy is just initiating here in May, and it's going to play out for at least 6 months. A little longer We are going to have another Sagittarius eclipse in December. So we're not done with the changes in the Sagittarius areas of our lives. And it feels exciting. There's something about this. You're already probably aware of what you're done with, what is no longer of interest. You've outgrown it. You're understanding that it served its purpose. There can be gratitude and a sense of seeing how it fits into the bigger picture of your life. And now it's time to open up for the new to come in. So again, I feel like this is a release point and this is a big release point. So 2 areas of your life. What does that mean? You identify where, what house this moon at 5 degrees of Sagittarius is for you. And then you also identify where this Jupiter at 1 degrees of Pisces is for you. So in this chart, you can see, okay, there's changes in the 6th house and really big changes in the 9th house. And these are the letting go changes of something ending, falling away, being removed. And perhaps you're just ready for it. You know, you're really ready for these changes in your life. And that can be an empowering way to embrace what's unfolding. That the divine timing is here. And that's very true with the strong Pisces. The divine timing is like, and we're releasing this. It's being transmuted. And it's normal for the mind. Figure it out. Okay, what's happening next? What's going to come in next? What do I do next, right? The mind can even become overactive when there are voids. And I feel like this is where, again, settling the mind, calming the nervous system, relaxing into it, opening up, and just considering there's many potentials and possibilities. And as long as you trust yourself, you're always in your power. Always. So a very dynamic chart. Ready or not, change is happening, life changes, big changes. You're ready for this. You're ready for it. And that doesn't mean it's always, smooth, but there's something here that's shifting us into a higher place and perhaps a dream place. I mean, this is the energy of following a new dream, trusting the next step, graduating into the next call of your soul. So I hope that gives you some good things to be aware of and to sit with. And we will see more of the story unfold in the Gemini solar eclipse. As again, it's going to reiterate some of these same themes with the strong Pisces and strong Gemini energies. So, thank you so much for joining me. You can find out more details below about the astrology courses that I teach. And I'm also here on YouTube every Monday and Wednesday with a new astrology podcast episode. So thank you so much for joining me. Be sure and check out my other playlists. You can learn a ton about your astrology chart here on my YouTube channel. And thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I'll see you back here soon.